Hello and welcome to another episode of Issues and Insights. I'm Bryce Shoemate, and today I've got my good friend Chris Denham from Elizabethtown Police Department with me, and we want to talk about some things that are going on, especially during the holidays, but some scams and some fraud that we've seen going on throughout the community. Chris, welcome to the show.
Always good to see you.
Always good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here today.
Glad to.
Chris, we've had several things that have happened to area banks with check fraud. And, you know, we've seen this going around. Does it seem to get worse around the holidays?
You know, I say it often, criminals are opportunists. So when there's more opportunity, there's going to be more crime. You're going to find more crime. Especially, you know, a lot of scams and frauds, not necessarily check fraud, but people prey on people being generous. And oftentimes people find themselves being more generous around the holidays. So it's just another good opportunity for criminals to engage in that type of conduct.
Right. Well, and it appears that a lot of the checks that we've seen at our bank and other banks in the vicinity, and when I say in the vicinity, this same person hit Nelson County, hit us in Hodgenville, tried to hit us in Elizabethtown, and so on. They seem to grab checks out of people's mailboxes.
Sure. You know, a really good way to avoid that, if you can, if you're not homebound, simply deposit them into a blue USPS box that's either on site at the post office or perhaps at a bank. Not that those can't be tampered with or broken into as well, but it's certainly a little more cumbersome to do so than it is to just walk along someone's street, open a mailbox, and take an envelope out.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things we've talked about is there's so many ways now to pay your bills electronically. And I know some of the older population don't feel very comfortable with that, and so dropping it in the blue box is a great idea. But you and I were talking earlier, there are mailboxes now that you can buy like on Amazon or some of our local places around town that are a lockable home mailbox.
That's right. That's right. And again, that not to say someone can't get into those, but it certainly makes it a little more cumbersome to do so. And chances are, if they encounter that lock, they're going to at least move on to the next person, and you yourself won't fall victim.
Right, and it all goes back to that opportunity there.
That's right.
A lot of mailboxes, just easy to pull the flap open, and people will stand there and go through your mail.
While we're talking about checks, let's just bring up that everything you need to access one's bank account is on that check. I mean, the account number and routing number is on the check. You write the check and you hand it to whomever, you mail it to whomever. If at any point in time the wrong person gets a hold of that, they can access your bank account and they can conduct wireless transactions just with the information that's on that check. And again, that's why I'm a strong advocate for online and doing things electronically.
Banking. And Chris, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, especially my mother, some of the older folks in our community, think if they write that check to a certain person, that somebody can't take that check and cash it, or they can't use that for anything else. And that's not true with what we're seeing with criminals.
Well, and even if they don't cash that specific negotiable instrument, again, the account number and the routing number is on there, and I can assure you the criminal has the knowledge and the know-how to access your and utilize your funds in your account using that information from the check.
Sure, and at some points they're taking those checks that are in the mail from your mailbox and bleaching out who they go to,
right,
bleaching out the amount, but they leave your signature on there, and then they make them payable to whoever.
And they're recreating, you know, duplicating checks, again, using the account number and routing number that's on the check. They're generating new checks.
Just by using their own printer to make up checks. And we have seen that also.
And it's very easy to do. I mean, you can go to any store, you know, whether it be any local store that sells any type of office supplies, and purchase legitimate checks that you actually print from home onto. It's very easy to do.
Right. And so with that, it's incumbent upon us, like you said, to start thinking more about electronic banking.
That's right.
And do those things with debit card. And we talked about this earlier. Sometimes some people just have not grown up that way, and so they don't feel comfortable.
That's right. And the financial institution will help, they'll help their customers get signed up with those services. If it's someone that's unsure of how to do that, I'm certain if you stop by one of the branch locations, they will certainly assist you.
And I know several of our banks, ours included, I'm from Magnolia Bank, but several of the banks all offer this now. I mean, this is with today's technology and modern conveniences, this is the way banking is going. For years, when we ordered checks, they would come in the mail,
Sure.
and we would get those delivered to us. And I mean, again, you talk about an opportunity, especially if people leave their mail in their mailbox all night long.
That's right. That's right. And it's very easy to forget, in a busy life, to forget to check your mail. It only takes that one night, or it may only be an hour. The bad guys, they may know when the mail runs, and they may follow right along the mail carrier and start selecting their items of choice out immediately after they deliver it.
Absolutely. And Chris, is this one of those cases where it's extremely hard to catch the person that's doing it?
It absolutely is. There's obviously there is somewhat of a paper trail, but oftentimes the suspects come from out of the area. They hire independent third parties to do the actual transaction. They don't know that independent third party, and it's just really hard to trace back and link back, at least to the ringleader. And oftentimes the person taking the fall for it isn't the mastermind of it.
Right. And we've seen that.
Yeah, they prey heavily on vulnerable population. They go to homeless shelters and things like from out of the county and pick these people up and offer them, $20-$30 to ride down here with them and conduct the transaction. They give them the $20-$30, drop them back off where they originated from, and the rest of the money goes in the pocket of the mastermind.
Of course, all of us that are in banking educate our folks about, your awareness, your heightened awareness should go up. I always tell my antenna goes up, from My Favorite Martian. I used to love that show, but my antenna goes up anytime I get something in. I look at it and think, well, first off, you're not our bank customer. Second thing is you're not from here, but you're trying to cash a check off of one of our local customers. Something's not right.
Yeah, and for anyone in the banking industry, I would encourage them to not be afraid to go ask a supervisor. If something doesn't feel right, step away from the line and go ask. Just tell the customer, hey, I've got to have some help with this. I'm not sure how to process it, and go ask a supervisor and seek their guidance.
Absolutely. And I've told some of our folks that work look, they're not our customer. The person that's trying to cash that check, they're trying to cash a check on one of our customers.
That's right.
This person is not necessarily, who cares when you make them upset because they have to wait a little while because they're already not our customer. They're just trying to cash a check from one of our customers, and that's what should. And
the reality, by creating that hoop, it's very possible that the suspect will leave and not fulfill the transaction.
Exactly. And the old days of a bank robbery is not as prevalent as things like this that we see now.
No, I mean it's far more lucrative. Fraud's far more lucrative. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, probably trillion-dollar industry now. It's the masterminds are very skilled and very, very knowledgeable, and it's a very willful, intentional act, but it is very lucrative.
So, folks, some of the things to think about here is, instead of sending or paying your bills, get with your bank, like Chris said, and talk to them about how you can pay your bills electronically, and they will help you set all that up.
They absolutely will, and it also offers an additional veil of protection by doing that. The financial institutions, their websites and things are safeguarded with a lot of security processes, and in the unlikely event that fraud does happen to occur, the financial institution will conduct their own independent investigation and refund you your lost funds much quicker than that of, say, when it's a paper check fraud or something like that.
Right. So not only setting it up electronically, but if you have to get mail, either one of those lockable mailboxes or post office box. All of our mail to our bank at Magnolia comes in to the post office box instead of having a physical, unless the mail carrier is bringing it in and setting on our desk at the bank itself. All of our mail comes either in the post office box. We don't have a physical mailbox that sits out at the road anymore.
And here's the thing: I know it's more convenient to have the mail delivered to your house, but I kind of look at it like an insurance policy. A post office box is relatively inexpensive. There are several locations throughout the Elizabethtown area that have them, or Hardin County for that matter. You drive by those places, and again, unless you're homebound, you drive by these places every single day.
Right.
It's just, yes, it's adding another step, but it's also an insurance policy to just kind of help protect yourself.
And that's another point. If they're homebound, then they should be working with their relatives to talk about their finances and how they should pay those things. Because if they're homebound, they obviously can't get out and do it.
That's right.
And they may need some help. to set up this electronic banking with your family members.
That's right, and that would make it more convenient for someone who is restricted to the home to not have to have that worry of how to get the check to the mailbox and et cetera.
And it seems that a lot of these opportunists, these criminals, try to prey on our senior citizens.
Again, they prey on a vulnerable population, and oftentimes the senior citizen, they're kind and empathetic, and that's who a criminal preys on.
Well, you and I were talking, as we talk about fraud, it is a scam, but we were talking about scams that a lot of y'all have seen going on, and one of them we were talking about off camera is my mother actually got called this weekend saying that her daughter-in-law, her granddaughter-in-law, was in a wreck and was in jail and needed money. And that's one of the common scams that we see.
Yeah, I had a great aunt. Same thing happened to us. This is many years ago now. I was a police officer, but she knew I had traveled to Mexico recently, and she received a call. Coincidentally, I'm not sure if someone had done their homework and known. I have no way of knowing. But anyways, they convinced her that I had been in an accident in Mexico, had actually been arrested by Mexican police authorities and needed bail money. And they convinced her that they were me, and the reason they explained that my voice was different was because of an injury I sustained to my face. And she ended up sending them several $1,000s on not once but twice. They called back and they got it a second time. And it just so happened that I was at my grandmother's when she called me and I answered the phone. Or she called my grandmother and I answered the phone, and she was shocked that I was there. And she said, asked me to step away, and this person told her, do not tell anyone else, and basically made her fearful to tell my parents or to tell my grandmother, and then so she didn't, and she sat on that for several days. I don't recall exactly how many. Again, it's been a long time ago, but she had the worry of thinking I was incarcerated somewhere for whatever reason in a jail abroad. Fortunately, in her circumstances, financially, she wasn't, she was in a pretty good spot financially, and it didn't take her last dime. But so many times, that's what these scammers literally bleed the last dime out of folks.
Absolutely, and there's a myriad of scams, but another one that's going around is people actually identify themselves as a member of the police department or a member of the sheriff's office.
Yeah, and if you notice, they're not asking for checks to do that. They're asking for Green Dot cards or Amazon cards or Visa gift cards. Look, the reality of it is this. We are never going to, number one, a municipal police department is not going to seek out or attempt to collect fines. That is not under the roles of a municipal police department or the state police. The sheriff's office perhaps could be involved in a portion of that, but no legitimate law enforcement agency or legitimate law enforcement official is going to attempt to collect a fine with gift cards or things of that nature.
And as far as that goes, that's all done through the court system.
That's right.
Even if the
That's
sheriff's
right.
office comes to you,
Yeah, they're not going to collect. They're not going to collect the fine on site.
They've got a warrant. They're actually going to take you in.
You're to be delivered to the court.
Right. And you all don't call somebody and say, "Hey, I've got an arrest warrant for you. I'm going to come get you if you don't come in and give us this money."
Well, not only do we not do that, no legitimate law enforcement agency will call someone soliciting funds for anything, not for donations. For nothing. So if you receive a phone call from someone claiming to be affiliated with law enforcement and they're soliciting funds, that's a huge red flag. I would hang up immediately.
Chris, this time of year, when we start talking about folks calling and asking for money, we get a lot of police organizations that call people around here. I got one this morning wanting us to give to a national police organization. Folks, I'm a retired police officer, and Chris has been a police officer for many, many years. Chris, we have not seen the first dime from any of these national police organizations.
Yeah, within my role in public affairs, I've never been contacted and presented with a check from a national organization in support of any of our efforts. So, if you want to keep your funds local, if you do wish to be charitable and you do wish to support local law enforcement, one great thing we have going on right now is Shop with a Cop. You can make a donation, and 100% of your donation will stay right here in Elizabethtown. That check, if you wish to make a check donation, can be made payable to FOP Lodge 40. You can also drop off a cash donation, if you wish, at the Elizabethtown Police Department, located at 300 South Mulberry Street, or we even pick it up. And to coordinate a pickup for a donation, you can give me a call at 270-765-4545. 4125.
And folks, we'll put that down at the bottom of the screen. But Chris, one thing we want to tell everybody is if they do make a check, don't mail it.
That's right.
Yeah,
Don't mail it.
because that's one of the things we're talking
And if
about
you're
right
gonna,
now.
if you're going to mail it, then drop it off in a
Here we are telling everybody to make out a check and how bad it is
Look,
for our
and I do want to say, there is still a legitimate need for checks.
Yes.
So I'm not trying to scare everyone and discourage anyone from writing checks. I'm just encouraging you to be proactive in.
But there's so many ways we can do it electronically nowadays to stop that.
There are times and there are places that a check needs
Sure.
to be used, but there are many of those instances have been eliminated.
Absolutely. And scams and frauds, like you said, is a multi-billion dollar industry now.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And these thieves have become big business for them.
Oh, huge. And, criminals are opportunists, right? And we talk about the crime triangle, and that's nothing more than opportunity, ability, and desire. You can't do anything about someone's ability or desire to commit a crime. You can absolutely, however, prevent their opportunity. And that's on us as law enforcement, and that's on citizens to thwart that opportunity.
And Chris, I'm glad you said that, because it makes a great segue into what we want to talk about with this time of year and knocking out some of the opportunity. During the holiday season, it seems like we have a lot of thefts from cars, a lot
Sure.
of thefts from homes, people hitting people, or not hitting people, but stealing things from people while they're out shopping. Talk about some of those things that we can lessen our opportunity.
Well, when you're out shopping for the holidays, don't fill your car up with packages and leave it in plain view in the front seat of the car. If you must do that, put it in the trunk. I understand returning your purchased items to your car because you're making multiple trips into multiple department stores, but be smart about it. At least at a minimum, conceal it under a jacket or a coat. Don't leave valuables in plain sight. Lock your car doors. Oftentimes, criminals, they don't want to knock out a window because they don't want to draw attention to themselves.
Right.
So if your car door is locked, their chances are they won't even get into the car.
You decrease that opportunity, and that's what we've seen so many times where we've had break-ins of cars, that the bad guys go out and they're reaching and grabbing the door handles to see if they're unlocked, and if it's locked, they go the next vehicle.
Yeah, and we're in a bad habit as a society and as law enforcement to call it vehicle break-ins, and the reality of it is it's not a forced break-in oftentimes.
Exactly.
It's just an unlawful entry in a car and a theft of contents
theft.
from the car. It is
Yeah.
definitely not. It's not a break-in.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's labeled theft from vehicle, right?
Yep.
So one other thing. People love to show their lights off and show their Christmas trees off this time of year. And they open up their front windows even when they're not home. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, remember what you're putting under the Christmas trees.
That's right. Be mindful of try to keep that stuff concealed.
Yeah.
Don't make it a huge billboard. And again, it's sad that we have to talk about this. It's sad that these criminals have us backed in the corner to the degree that they are, but you don't want to fall victim to theft or burglary.
Sure, and even after Christmas, there's some things, where you and I have talked about for years. If you got a big screen TV, don't put that box out there showing everybody you just got a big screen TV. Take it to the recycle place.
That's right.
And recycle that cardboard. Don't set it out there for somebody to pick up.
That's right. That's right. It's just making a big billboard and for yourself asking to be a victim.
Absolutely. Chris, kind of some other things that we should be aware of this holiday season to kind of not make us so vulnerable to what's going on.
Yeah, I always encourage people to shopping. Do so in the buddy. So use the buddy system. If you don't have to go alone, don't. If you do have to go alone, just be vigilant. Keep your head on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, do something about it. That may mean alerting law enforcement. That may be you may see someone doing something that you see as suspicious toward another citizen who you don't know. Point it out to him. Hey, there's someone watching you. Be mindful of that. Don't be afraid to speak up. But if you have to go alone, as I said, just be vigilant. Parking in parking lots. If possible, park in a well-lit area. Don't
Right.
park in a parking lot that's poorly lit. That's just another opportunity for someone to slip in under the cover of darkness and victimize you. And we don't want that to happen. It's not just property crime, but it's also personal crime. I mean, you could find yourself falling victim to a personal robbery, and you have to be aware. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone. Elizabethtown is a safe community.
Yes.
Much more safe than some of our neighboring
Communities,
counties.
yeah.
But it still happens, and it can happen, and we have to task ourselves with being vigilant and looking out for one another.
And if people have been in some of these stores, they went in when it was daytime and they come back out and it's dark.
That's right.
Things change.
Absolutely, they do.
It doesn't look the same. Take your phone and take a picture of where you are located. If your lot has got numbers or letters in it, take a picture of that so you can remember where you were.
And most of us at this point have key fobs too. So when you immediately after walking out, if you don't remember, if you can't find it, hit your key fob and make your lights flash or make your horn sound and just kind of get you to your car quicker. And don't just meander in a parking lot. Get in. And I'm not saying that you have to make a dead sprint run to the car, but when you get in your car, don't meander there. Get in the car and
Sure,
head out.
absolutely. And another thing that distracts us when we come out of those places, don't be on your
Cell phones. And it's so easy. I mean, we're all guilty of it, myself included. But it's
me as well.
and let's talk about that too, with the shopping centers and such being more heavily traveled during this time of year. Driving your car, don't be on your phone, because people are shopping in large groups or shopping with friends and family, and they're having a good time, and it's very easy to be preoccupied and become absent-minded. It's kind of the same advice I would give during Halloween and trick-or-treating. Just be aware that with increased pedestrian traffic, and be alert. Don't be distracted, because the last thing you want to do is hit someone.
Well, there's more people out on the road this time of year. They're traveling to visit relatives, traveling to friends' houses, all types of Christmas parties and those kind of things. So people are traveling more.
They
out on
absolutely
the
are. They
road.
absolutely
So, I mean, that's a great point, Chris. For those folks that are happening to come around to Elizabethtown during this holiday season, there's all kinds of activities going on during the holiday season. And you said one place for folks to look at if they wanted to see when certain things are happening across town.
Check out the City of Elizabethtown events page or the City of Elizabethtown's Facebook page, also the Elizabethtown Police Department's Facebook page. Coming up this Friday, we have the city Christmas parade. Starts at 7 o'clock. It'll be going into downtown, and so there's something for everyone that's offered there. But for more information on that, again, just visit the City of Elizabethtown's Facebook page or the City events page.
Absolutely. There's several cool holiday movies going on at State Theater as well. So look all those up and stay informed, and we try and keep you informed on what's going on too. So.
Christmas in the Park. I mean, it's a world-class light display.
Yes.
People travel from all over to come to Christmas in the Park, and you'd really be hard-pressed to find a light display any better than that anywhere in the country. So
I'm glad you brought that up as we get ready to close here. Christmas in the Park. A lot of people will go down the shoulder of the road. Is that what you all are suggesting, since it backs up for a good little ways to get in, stay over on the shoulder?
so it doesn't block a travel lane.
Yeah, okay. All right, folks, just to kind of get that, it is okay to do that.
And we do have an officer actually out on weekends to kind of monitor the traffic flow there. It bottlenecks right prior to entering the park, so we have an officer that's there, assigned to that area to prevent that from happening.
Awesome. Chris, always a pleasure to talk to you.
I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you coming in on short notice, and we wanted to get this out, folks, because we were seeing a lot of check fraud here lately at local banks, and so we wanted to make you all aware that try to utilize your electronic means as much as possible. Chris, great suggestion. Get with your bank so that they can help you set up on those electronic means. Don't send checks through the mail from your mailbox and and lift the little red flag up. That little red flag tells the
It's a billboard.
Yeah, it tells the bad guy that you've got something in there that needs to go out.
And one thing I want to say, if you see something that you deem as suspicious, don't be shy to pick up the phone and call the police department.
We're not going to get mad.
Absolutely not. I mean, that's what we would far rather be proactive and answer a question, clarify something, and prevent you from falling victim to a crime than we would get a call after you've been victimized. So, in Elizabethtown, our phone number is 270-765-4125. I always encourage everyone, trust your intuition. Don't fall victim to a crime.
And it goes the old saying, see something, say something.
That's right. That's right. And if you're aware of any, fraud scheme taking place in Hardin County or surrounding areas for that matter, report that to local law enforcement. We have an avenue or an ability to do it locally, anonymously if you choose. That's through Hardin County Crime Stoppers. To share any information on any criminal activity taking place in Hardin County, you can contact Hardin County Crime Stoppers, again, totally anonymously by calling 1-800-597-8123 or by visiting p3tips.com. Maybe we can get that put on the bottom of the screen as well, but I'll repeat
Absolutely.
that number, 1-800-597-8123 or p3tips.com.
Or you can send us a message through Facebook on there as well.
I don't know that they monitor it as closely. There may be a bit of a delay
Yeah.
on the Hardin County Crime Stoppers
It
Facebook
is.
page, but it is an absent third party. They are not affiliated with law enforcement. The call taker forwards the information provided to law enforcement. And the great thing about Crime Stoppers, should the tip provided lead investigators to the successful prosecution of a criminal offense, the tipster is eligible for a cash reward of up to $1,000. Depending on the circumstances surrounding that arrest.
And you all could certainly use that this time of year.
That's right. It's good Christmas shopping money.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Chris, again, thank you for joining
Yeah,
us.
thanks
We
for having me.
appreciate everything that you do and all of the Elizabethtown Police Department, and for that matter, all of our law enforcement agencies and first responders, especially this time of year.
Sure.
It makes it hard to be away from your family because they work 24/7, you all, 365 days out of the year, so always there.
We appreciate the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you all for joining us here on Issues and Insights, where we try to keep you informed on what's going on in this big county that we call Hardin, that we call home as well. But more importantly, what's going on in your students' life in the Hardin County school system. I'm Bryce Shumate from Magnolia Bank, Chris Denham from Elizabethtown Police Department. Hey, have a Merry Christmas, you all, and remember, don't make yourself an easy target, because that's what it is. It's a crime of opportunity.
That's right. Merry Christmas, everyone. We hope everyone has a safe and healthy holiday.
Absolutely. We're not trying to be Scrooge.
No, absolutely not. Just trying to raise awareness.
That's right. Merry Christmas, you all.